Aloha. I wanted to make a quick video and really just put things into context here and see that for the people who are researching flat earth and everything that's involved with flat earth, to not forget that if you're speaking on flat earth, then you're speaking about humanity as a whole. You're speaking about the storyline of what happened to the human consciousness, what happened with the installation of the globe model into the consciousness of the human experience that separated us from our creative intelligence, from our purpose, from our meaning, where that stuff started, where it is today, and what has happened to the people, and why this stuff has happened to the people. And before I start, I wanted to reference this point that I wrote in the comments that, and this is for people who've seen the last video where I was talking about a comment that Patricia Steer wrote on my comment or on one of my videos that was deleted soon after because it got too real for her. But one of the things I referenced in that comment was the need for her to have to humble herself in order to look into these storylines, look into the depths and the origins of these storylines, and realize that this is not all about love and light and connection and all this other stuff. We cannot experience peace if we don't understand the origins of war and destruction on a collective scale. This is what I'm speaking on right now when we have to understand the origins of these storylines, because if you're only talking about getting NASA to reveal some information, you are basically asking Christopher Columbus to reveal some information to you. You are asking the colonial system to reveal something to you. It does not start and end with NASA. NASA and all this other stuff that we are experiencing today, even the transhumanistic movement, all this stuff, technology to the extreme, all this stuff exists on top of the distraction program that we have experienced for centuries. And for this one video, I wanted to put into context the timelines of things and how simple this story really is when you factor in the colonial conquering grid, the white supremacy program, and the realities of white genetic annihilation, and the globe model, and how this whole thing has been created for us to worship individuals and ideas. And it's easy to see when you see Hollywood, when you see the music industry, when you see the politics, when you see the whole idea of the maritime admiralty law system that locks everybody into this slave mind, this slave state of, this is your relationship to the human experience. This is your relationship to the earth plane, and we give it to you with a birth certificate, social security number, politics, the fiat currency system. It's no different than this image right here. We are living this image today that has just grown into smartphones and microchips and robots and minimum wage and everything that goes along with what we call everyday reality today, and the distraction grid of social media, mainstream media, the Hollywood system, politics as a whole. All of this stuff is to keep us from questioning the origins of what we are experiencing today, and not going into the depths of our own power and our own creation. And this is very linked into the Mandela effect, flat earth, CERN, all this stuff. Because like I keep saying, CERN is no different than NASA. They want you to focus on this technological whatever in order to separate you even further from your organic, your natural connections to this experience, consciousness as a whole. And to time travel for a moment, this is basically what had happened in a nutshell. After Rome, so when Egypt went down, then came Greece, then came Rome, then came the Europeans traveling all the way around and running into nothing but melanated people all over the planet, or all over the earth plane. They sailed here and there, and they said, oh my goodness, there are black and brown peoples all over the planet. If we don't do something to control and lock these individuals into a mindset of minority, like as if they are the ones who are different, something's wrong with them, they labeled them, they called them savages, even though we had connections to the earth plane, we had connections to our creator, we have connections to each other. These are the individuals that they ran into. These are the stories that they ran into, the connections that they saw. They all understand their connection to the earth, to their creator. And they said, holy shit, they're all telling this same story. They all have the ability to breed us out of existence. We need to do something about this. We need to conquer them. What can we do? We have to sell them something that is so big that it will trick them into thinking that we are super smart. We've understood the stars and the earth and everything that's here. We have to invent a new science, a new system that we are in charge of, that we put out for the masses to soak up. So when Columbus went over to the Taino people, and this is another thing, Jamaica, when you look at the Jamaicans, when you look at the dark people in Cuba, the dark people in Haiti, the dark people in Puerto Rico, the dark people in Brazil, the dark people all over the place, from dark to light brown to whatever. Those people were not brought over on ships from Africa. These people were already here. This is my main point. The individuals, the melanated people on this earth plane were already around the earth, all over the place. And these individuals saw that this happened. So the storyline of Roots being played on TV today, the storyline of all this bullshit that's going on with the public education system and the university system, the history channel, all that stuff, it is all a design to get you to thinking only on the timeline of humanity that starts at the origins of the European foundation, the European globe model system. This is where the whole flat earth stuff gets buried. The whole war and destruction stuff starts on a collective scale. And this is where it goes back to where I referenced in the beginning of needing to humble yourself to realize that you will lose a lot of your privileges if you go into the depths of looking into these stories, because this is what needs to be done in order to get peace to take shape on a collective scale. Because this system is based upon war. They've created a deception to destroy people, installed disease, installed the iron age of destruction into these peaceful people who are already living in harmony with the earth plane, with each other, in order to sell their agenda, their control grid, which is now evolved into the fiat currency system, the maritime admiralty law, the NASA grid, the CERN grid, the university system, the heliocentric model. All of the above is based upon that. And until we start to realize that this is where all this stuff originates, there will not be peace. Until we see where war and destruction started, there will not be peace. If we still keep talking about working inside the system or asking the wartime system to give us peace, you will not experience peace. You have to go expand outside of the level of consciousness that created this system of separation and destruction. And it goes down to the very genetics of this is why they genetically modify us with food. This is why they are poisoning us with water, why we are being poisoned with the skies. And it's a very definite program of genetic protection. As much as they are genetically destroying, they are genetically, the inherent story behind that is to protect their genetics. Because when they traveled all over the world, they saw that these genes, if they reproduce with these genes, these individuals, they will have black babies. They will have brown babies. So they had to invent the flag and put the Australian genocide, the Aboriginal Australians. Put a flag on there. They almost made the Aboriginal Australians go extinct. These are the stories people don't want to talk about. I don't even like talking about this shit. But if we don't talk about this stuff, then we're not going to see how deep this storyline goes. They almost made an entire human race go extinct. The Australians, Aboriginal Australians, were at the brink of extinction because the British colonial program went down there and sought out to exterminate them. This story is all around the world. It's the same thing that happened. The same flag flies in Hawaii. That same flag flies in New Zealand. That same flag flies in Australia. That same flag is represented in Canada. That same flag is represented in the United States. That same flag is flown everywhere. All of these flags that had to be created because this flag right here, this is what you're seeing. This is the stuff people don't want to talk about. This is the Maritime Admiralty Control Grid, where they take your soul, your baby feet, the souls of your baby feet, and lock it into a separation grid of ownership. This is a slave mentality that goes back, predates Christopher Columbus, because they were setting up this program very early. It only went into gear when Christopher Columbus went over to these lands, and they were at the point of no return. They were like, shit, well, we got to do something. We got to kick this into gear. We have to take, this is a military move. They said, we have to own the Americas. So they sent the Spanish to take care of, poison, install religion, destroy, separate with ideas, all kinds of stuff around South America, Central America, and the west coast of the United States. The French were sent in the Louisiana around the Mississippi trade lines to handle those individuals. And they started sending people over boats to just get more numbers over here. The history books were written by them. The people who wrote those history books are the people who still run these university systems where they worship these history books today. These history books are meant to make you forget what happened in Australia. These history books are made to make you forget what is happening still in the Hawaiian Islands, where these individuals already had their own king and queen. They already had their own beautiful connections with each other and styles of living before that flag showed up and said, we own you. We're just made to like it today with the birth certificate and the social security number. That flag showed up in New Zealand, went over and conquered all these places. And now the illusion is to tell you that they are conquering the moon and conquering Mars and conquering all this other stuff. This is all an illusion. Because we, the original people, understand our connection to our creative intelligence, our organic experience. We still have these connections. And these people who traveled around and saw that on an intellectual level and on a genetic level, they could be made extinct themselves, they sought out to make others go extinct. So this is what happened in Australia. This is what's happening on the streets of the United States. This is what's happening in Egypt. This is why they took out Gaddafi. If you don't know about what happened to Gaddafi, look into what happened out there and what he was getting ready to do. What he was already doing and what he was getting ready to do. And see why he was taken out. And see how Hillary Clinton is involved in that shit too. This is all a big story that is very much related to the things that are going on today. This was an invention. Copernicus invented. This is a theory. The globe model is a theory. And today, people are convinced that this is our reality. Because this distraction has to be maintained in order to sell the next agenda of distraction. And this is how we get manipulated to believe this distraction by constant bombardment of the lie. Constant bombardment through the mainstream, through the television, through these frequencies, these vibrations of self-destruction and collective destruction. These are stamps that are coming out in 2016, this year. These are all CGI images. And when they put these images on things that you feel are official, that are important, that are this, that are that, then you psychologically, subliminally program yourself to believe a certain thing. Believe in the Star Trek version of your reality. Believe in the Star Trek version of your Earth plane experience. And totally forget about the original connections, the original diagrams that we have set up that are called savage. We are called savages in order to maintain this artificial civility, which is actually founded and based in war. So if you are talking about love, light, peace, and all this other shit, and you don't reference the fact that your separation from your understanding is an act of war. Your separation from your creator is an act of war. Your separation from yourself and the truth of understanding and being able to question your reality, being able to question authority, that is a constant act of war. So if you're not even allowed to question yourself because of whatever creature comforts you have going on in your own reality, you are keeping yourself in a constant act of war. The storyline goes a lot deeper than NASA. It goes into the blood, the genetics of the people. It goes into the storylines that were even told in a limited version in our public education system, in the university system as a whole. People of Puerto Rico, of Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, and Cuba, and Jamaica, a lot of people don't even know the Taino, the Taino people, the phrase, that what happened there in the United States, and even on some of the islands, because Puerto Rico is heavily Americanized or United Statesanized. It's a psychological program. We were already existing all over the place. This peace and all this other stuff people talking about, oh, you're being destructive by, talking about, people don't realize that they are protecting a so-called civilization that is based upon war and destruction. If you don't realize that, then you won't be able to access peace. You won't be able to access true depths of nature and harmony. This new age bullshit is all to make a facade of connection, a facade of what was already happening. It's an artificial version of what the Aboriginal and Indigenous people already had. It's a synthetic version of expanding consciousness. It only shows a certain version of it. This is what technology is, and CERN and all this shit. It only shows you certain 10% at best, probably. Something like 10% of what your maximum potential is. As a human, connected with the Most High, connected with the earth plane, connected with the elements. If we don't start talking about these stories, then we're not really talking about anything. If you're in flat earth and you're not mentioning the indigenous and aboriginal people, you talk about fluff. If you're not mentioning what the the ancient Egyptians had already mastered in so many ways, when you see alchemy, when you see the hieroglyphics on the walls, if we're not going into where we already came from before we start to talk about where we're going and all these star people and all this other stuff, if we don't understand what was already here, what is still here in the people, and the true reasons why there's war, why there's genetic modification, why there is a white supremacy program, we don't understand. If we don't go into understanding why that stuff exists and how it relates to the flat earth, we're not really talking about anything before we go anywhere else. So I'll leave it there. That's pretty much it. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.